Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Moment with the Mayor. I'm super excited to have Rachel Lindholm with us today. She is the City of Richfield Sustainability Specialist. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. And I just want to give you a huge thanks for everything you've been doing to serve the City of Richfield and our residents in the area of sustainability. You have just catapulted us into moving forward on sustainability issues like nobody else has. So you've helped us with, transitioning to electric vehicles, to organics drop off, to even, how we collect our trash and looking at our parks, preserving our urban canopy. Everything sustainability, you've not only helped us get our bearings, but you've really helped us move forward. So thank you so much for your tremendous leadership in making that happen.
Yeah, it's actually been a lot of fun. A lot of obviously council and staff support, but a lot of resident support too, which has made it a lot easier to just launch ahead because everyone wants these things to happen.
Absolutely. That is definitely something that I have learned in my role is so many people care about the greening of our city, about sustainability issues, preserving our wildlife, our trees. That is just a huge interest among our residents. So today I want to talk about the big item that we just passed at City Council, which is organized garbage collection. So at Tuesday's council meeting, we passed a resolution to move forward with organized garbage collection and in a closed system. So I know you're getting a lot of questions about what does organized trash hauling mean? What's the future mean for our residents? But before we get there, let's just back up and talk about what are the benefits of organized collection for our residents.
Oh, that's a good question. So there are a lot, and we obviously don't have time to go into all of them today. So I, as always, encourage people to check out the Organized Collection City website, which is richfieldmn.gov/organized collection. There's a lot of information there, but briefly, kind of how we've discussed the benefits before. Are mostly economic and environmental. And then within those categories, there are a lot of benefits. So we talk about things like having fewer trucks on the roads, having trucks stop at every single household on a block, which means lower speeds, increased safety, fewer missed pickups, things like that. Less air pollution, obviously, with fewer trucks. Less trucks on the roads affects road wear and tear in some cases too. So those are kind of some environmental benefits. And then we talk about economic benefits, and that primarily is with the reduction of trash rates and making trash rates, and it's just solid waste collection in general. So trash, recycling, yard waste, etc., making those rates more equitable. So making sure everyone has the similar services, sizes may change, but making sure that, you might have a 64-gallon trash cart and your neighbor might have a 64-gallon trash cart. And logically, you both should be paying the same amount. But in an open system, that's not really how that works. And that's how we have some residents who end up paying over $700 or over $1,000 a year for trash, whereas other residents, are able to enter into long-term fixed deals and things like that. So it's really making this utility, this necessary service that residents are required to have, more equitable. And that also allows us to offer more options like every other week trash collection, like a curbside organics program, things like that. So it's a mix. We have found that most residents will be saving money on various services and overall, and it really helps us streamline education as well to residents to make sure that we are sharing reduction opportunities, donation opportunities, so that people know, hey, trash is the only waste service that's taxed. Let's try and reduce that so you're saving more money. So yeah, it's really economic and environmental benefits are the main categories.
Super helpful. Thank you for reviewing all that. So we are transitioning from everyone going, every household individually, getting their trash picked up from a private hauler to this organized system across the whole city. So is organized garbage collection something new? How do we compare with other cities? What other cities do that? Do organized trash hauling? What does this look like kind of statewide and across the country?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think those are two very important distinctions. We have kind of how organized collection has happened in Minnesota, and then we do have how organized collection has happened across the country. And so if we look at it broadly, looking at the entire country, organized collection, whatever that means, whether it's a single hauler or a group of haulers, organized to some extent, it is the predominant waste hauling method of the country. You know, I've heard a statistic that about 3/4 of the country has organized collection to some extent. And that's huge, right? Minnesota is a bit of an anomaly when it comes to organized collection. You know, it's been a fairly recent development for some cities. Some cities have been organized since like the 80s. So it's pretty much either you were organized in the 80s or you've organized in the last decade. And that's kind of it. So, you know, that's where we run into, you know, a lot of people are very familiar with Bloomington and St. Paul, especially. Those are the most recent organizations. Of collection. St. Anthony Village also organized, and Maplewood is also organized in about the past, you know, 15-ish years. Otherwise, you know, you have cities like St. Louis Park and Minneapolis, and a few other outer ring suburbs that were organized decades ago, and that's where you kind of run into more of the single hauler systems. So yeah, it's definitely starting to gain some more momentum in Minnesota as cities have organized and then have kept their organized systems and have moved on to single hauler in some cases. But yeah, Minnesota is following the footsteps of the rest of the country predominantly.
Got it. So this is kind of what the majority of cities are doing. We're lagging a little behind, but it looks like we are catching up and we are a part of that movement to catch up. So we took our vote on Tuesday. We made our decision to transition. Now, what does the timeline look like for implementation for our residents?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the goal is to implement organized collection in the first full week of October. So that would be the full transition would start Monday, October 4th. So the carts would be switched out beforehand, and your new hauler, whether it's you know, your existing hauler or a different hauler, your new organized collection hauler would start hauling your waste that week. So that's our end goal, and the details on how we're getting there haven't been fully fleshed out yet, because obviously the vote just happened. So the city and the haulers still need to meet and start figuring that out. But the next step is to really start figuring out where each hauler is going to service. So we're staying with the zones. So if your trash day right now is Tuesday, it'll stay Tuesday. And then we need to figure out within Tuesday, which part of the Tuesday zone is Republic going to service, which part is Waste Management going to service, which part is Aspen going to service, and things like that. It's dependent on market share. So there's a lot of numbers that need to be involved. And then of course, route planning. So again, trying to make sure that each block is serviced by one hauler. So there's just a lot of moving pieces. And so we have to figure that out. And once we know that information, we'll be sharing that with residents on the social media, with letters being mailed to houses, Suncurrent, like any method that we can do to get that information out to residents on this is your hauler, you know, and then dealing with cart sizes as well. Some people have already expressed to me they want to change their cart size, or they don't know their cart size, or they want to sign up for service or things like that. So really those will be the next steps. We have to figure out, you know, who's going to haul where in the city, which carts need to be swapped out and cleaned and delivered, and then communicating that with residents to make sure that everybody's on the same page for that October start.
Got it. Great. That's super helpful. So I think you already answered this, but people want to know who their hauler will be. And what I'm hearing from you is these details are being figured out right now, but we're going to be sending mass mailings to all of our households, and then we'll be using all the different media platforms available to the city to let people know. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So like I said, because the vote hadn't happened yet, you know, there's some proprietary information involved and things like that. So we'll be starting that process now that the vote is official. And, you know, I always encourage residents to reach out to me. I've no problem just saying, you know, we don't know yet. And obviously, once we do know, I still encourage residents to reach out to me if they're curious and haven't gotten any information. But yeah, it'll be a little bit until we have that specific information.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, this is one of the biggest concerns I heard from residents. Right now, we can cancel if we're not happy with the customer service of our hauler or the prices, and we can go somewhere else. So people are concerned about the level of customer service and quality. So what does this transition to organized hauling mean in terms of customer service, and how to address customer service issues for our residents?
That was definitely one of the top two things that I have talked to many people about or heard concerns about as well, that and pricing. And I mean, I get it. It's super important, especially when you run into service issues. And the thing that I'm trying to emphasize, which we know that there will be some sort of issues, mishaps, missed pickups, no matter what. I mean, you know, we're all human, and that happens. The one of the goals of organized collection, obviously, is to reduce the number of customer service issues, reduce the number of missed pickups, so we don't get to a place where residents are wanting that, you know, they're wanting to cancel with their hauler. We want to fix those ahead of time so we don't even get there. And so organized collection is about, you know, increasing and improving communication between haulers in the city, haulers and residents, and the city and residents. You know, in an open system, we have residents who currently call the city to complain about a hauler, or to say that, you know, I got a lot of missed yard waste pickup calls last year, and the city can't do anything. We can put a complaint on file, but we can't help residents in a closed system. We don't have that communication with haulers. It's a closed business transaction. We can't help residents, and it's really hard, you know, as someone who, I mean, that's my job, is to help residents and make sure that these services are, you know, as good as they can be. So organized collection, it helps, you know, give the city that ability to help residents. It helps bring connection and communication closer. You know, some haulers have national call centers and some have local call centers. And sometimes it's a lot harder to get someone in a national call center who knows what's going on in Minnesota. So to be able to have city staff who have direct contact with a hauler, it provides a lot better communication and customer service. The customer service also, like I said, with missed pickups, if you have a hauler servicing every household on a street, the missed pickup rates go down dramatically. And we know that because it's been seen in other cities. You know, usually in an organized city in the metro, the missed pickup percentage is 0.02 to 0.04%. And I gave a statistic at the last council meeting that in 2018, Bloomington's missed pickups were 479 missed pickups out of over 2.1 million total pickups. Wow. So like, that's still 479 missed pickups, and I recognize that, but that is a remarkably low percentage, and that's the goal, right? It makes it a lot easier to deal with those 479 when the rest of the 2 million are going super smooth. So there are procedures in the contract to deal with customer service issues. There are clear requirements in the contract that lay out what haulers are required to do with customer service and just, you know, regular trash hauling and things like that. It's a legally binding document. That's something that you as a resident, when you contract, you don't really have. You're not writing, you know, a 60-page document to hold haulers accountable like the city is with organized collection. So there's a lot of legal stuff going on. Haulers have a better understanding of what's required in the city. It's just proven to make customer service and issues a better experience, to decrease them and everything like that.
And that's a really good example of something that I think the staff did so well. I would say the process in Ridgefield went relatively smoothly for organized hauling so far, and I have faith that it will continue to go smoothly moving forward. But because we are taking the learning lessons from other communities, you've done a great job in spending countless amount of hours and having countless conversations with hundreds of residents and addressing those concerns, but not only just addressing it one-on-one with folks, but making sure that those concerns are front and center in the negotiation process and in the agreements and contracting with haulers. So I just think it's great to hear that there are processes and items that within the contract that do keep haulers accountable. And this is all based on kind of what you're hearing from our residents. So thank you for that. It's not just about responding to residents' concerns, but then taking those into consideration and baking it in throughout the process. And I think this is a great example of how you did that. So another huge question that we get, in addition to you know, who the hauler will be, is the increase in prices. So can you talk a little bit about the change in the bill for folks and what that means from transitioning to organized?
Yeah, so I've actually had a lot of really good conversations with residents, and many of them have thought that their bills are going up. And just because of the nature of complexity of pricing, I obviously have these numbers pretty much memorized at this point. So it takes me no time to calculate their bills. And it's been really exciting to be able to share with residents who think that their bill's going up, that it in fact will be saving them money. Organized collection will be saving them money. So I do encourage residents to reach out to me if they have any concerns or thoughts about their bill, or just want someone to double check their math. There are a few instances where some residents will be paying more, and that of course it gets back to the whole equity of the system. In the most of the time, the increases that I've seen are very small. I saw one resident who will only be paying about $3 a quarter more. So that's $12 a year, which is a good. It's not what people think when they think their bill's going up 200% or something like that. So like I said, the vast majority of people will be saving money. I have based those calculations off of the invoices that residents sent into me. And so we have, like with our recycling price, over 93% of residents will be saving on the monthly recycling price, which is exciting. And then trash, it really just depends on the size of the cart. And the system is really set up to be what's called a pay-as-you-throw system. Therefore, if you have a larger cart, you'll be paying more than those with a smaller trash cart. And that was something that wasn't really reflected in Ridgefield's open system a ton. We ended up seeing a lot of residents with large carts, so a 96-gallon trash cart, who are paying a lot less than residents with even a 32-gallon cart. And so pay-as-you-throw it's not just a Ridgefield thing, it's not just a county thing, it's really a state goal and how a lot of trash programs are run. And we did see some increases in averages. The average for a small cart was less than the average for a large cart, but again, those are averages. So this really cements a pay-as-you-throw program, and the goal is to incentivize people to reduce the amount of trash that they're throwing away, to understand what's going in their trash, to separate compostable materials, organics, and then downsize their trash so they're saving money. Like I said, trash is the only thing that's taxed. So if you are paying less on trash, you're paying less on taxes. Recycling is not taxed. Yard waste is not taxed. Organics not taxed. So really trying to look at what are we throwing away and where can it go, and what can we buy that decreases our trash, and things like that. So again, that goes into increased residential education in the future too.
Great. So I think just learning more about recycling and organics collection and reducing waste through those vehicles, and then, paired with that, we're going to be making it super easy for folks to do that. So
right.
That's great. So one last question before we wrap up and ask people, where they can get more information if they have questions. But my last question is, you've been getting so many different questions, primarily, billing, customer service, but what are other questions that people are asking you on this process?
Yeah, so besides who's my hauler going to be, I think the most common questions I've gotten this week are about yard waste for 2021, this first season, and paying bills until October. So in terms of yard waste for 2021, if you have an annual subscription, you most likely have already paid. It might be split over some months and you're paying it. The thing with yard waste, it's going to be different than the other services. Yard waste, you will continue to have service no matter who your hauler turns out to be through November 30th. Your carts will be swapped when everything else is swapped, but it will still stay the same. So if you have Republic right now and you have yard waste and you are switching to Aspen, you'll get an Aspen yard waste cart. You'll continue to have service throughout November 30th. You won't be refunded and you won't be recharged. So you've already paid for yard waste if you have a seasonal subscription, and that will stay the same. Because haulers in the city, and we heard from residents as well, it didn't make sense to refund residents for 2 months of yard waste collection and then turn right around and charge them for those same 2 months again. So the haulers are going to figure out the financials on the back end, and residents will still have service and not have to worry about getting a refund and then paying a different hauler. However, when it comes to other services, trash and recycling, residents will get refunded for those services if they have paid, if they have an annual bill, or if they have paid quarterly and pay for like November, or a month that is after organized collection starts. So that's kind of how that works. So don't worry, you will have yard waste service through November 30th. And then if you are continuing, you know, if your annual bill's coming up, that's a question I get a lot. Your annual bill's coming up, should you pay for another year? Your quarterly bill's coming up, should you keep going? Yes, you need to have trash service through October 4th / whenever, you know, the first date of organized collection is. And that is, you know, required in city code. That is your responsibility as a resident. So pay your next annual bill, pay your next quarterly bill, whatever the case may be. If you pay for extra service, you will get refunded by your existing hauler for the months that you do not receive service. That is in the contract. Don't worry, I've had residents be concerned that their hauler won't pay them. It's in the contract. They are required to, they know they will. So keep paying your bills, keep having trash service, and don't worry about yard waste. If they do have any other questions, they can always email me. My email is on the organized collection website that I mentioned. My phone number is 612-861-9188.
Great. Thank you so much, Rachel, for all of this awesome information on organized hauling in the process for residents. We will be walking side by side with our residents every step of the way in this transition. You are going to continue to be available. We have our frequently asked questions online, a ton of information on the website. We will be sending out mass communications to our residents. So thank you for all your leadership. Thank you for everything you're doing. And thank you for breaking down the next steps in organized trash hauling.